So I want to weigh in on this Cardi B and Nicki Minaj beef and talk about why I don't think that we as Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned Black women, should be choosing sides. And by the way, I just did a live stream for Neptunian members and patrons, and I will be doing more exclusive live streams and exclusive videos in general for Neptunians. So if you're interested in watching, the links to join are in the description box. And some of you have also been asking me for natural hair information after my last couple of videos where I mentioned hair. So I added my hair product recommendations to my Amazon storefront, and there are also other product recommendations as well. So the link to that is also in my description box. And for those who are looking for natural looking hair weave, I also shared recommendations for that on my community tab post from a few days ago. So yeah, definitely check that out. But let's get into today's topic. So Nicki Minaj and Cardi B are once again arguing on social media about who is the most popular female rapper. And according to what the internet is saying, before Cardi's new album came out, she was bragging about how she was gonna surpass all the other female rappers on their latest album sales, and especially Nicki. I guess she was sneak dissing her, but apparently she did not surpass Nicki's numbers. So of course, Nicki and the Barbs started rubbing it in. Cardi responded, and it started this whole back and forth between them on X. And it got really ghetto and nasty, which is to be expected from these two. I mean, they're birds, but they were both dragging each other's children. Nicki Minaj actually referred to Cardi's children as bald monkeys. And I don't think this was a fabricated tweet or anything, but if it was, I know she for sure called Cardi B's daughter Culture ugly. Very, very disgusting behavior. Again, not surprising at all coming from Nicki. And I see a lot of Black women who are mad at Nicki and they're siding with Cardi. And even though I understand why you guys are doing that, you still need to remember that Cardi has also called Black women's children monkeys and roaches. So her and Nicki are the same kind of person. Neither one of them have respect for unambiguous dark-skinned women and their children. And I just don't believe that either one of them deserve to be defended by Black women. But unfortunately, both of these women have a bunch of insecure, dumb, unambiguous dark-skinned women who live vicariously through them, and they know that those women are going to fight on their behalf on the internet. And honestly, it's so embarrassing, and I feel like this every time it happens. And if you notice, this happens damn near every time one of them release a single or an album. And they do it to drive up their sales, drive up their streams, and unfortunately, Black women take the bait every single time. And the only people who are benefiting from this is Cardi and Nicki. Black women are not getting anything at all out of this, and neither one of them care about Black women. Before she had what appears to be brown or dark-skinned unambiguous children, Cardi was perfectly okay with hurling colorist insults towards dark-skinned Black women, their children, and now that it's her own children who are at the brunt of colorism, now she's crying about it. And this goes back to what I keep saying about colorist mixed-race women and colorist Black men producing children who have the skin complexion and features that they hate. The colorism comes right back around to their children. And it's like, what did y'all think was going to happen? But when their colorism comes back to bite them in the ass and it hits too close to home, then they want to cry to us about it as if they don't feel the same way about other people who look like their own damn children. So while I feel bad for Cardi's daughter, that is not going to make me jump into defense mode for her and forget about her colorist statements. And I saw other Black women online bringing this up, and there were other Black women who responded and they were like, oh, well, that was years ago. That was 10 years ago. That was a decade ago. Okay, and how long ago was it when JT made her colorist statements about dark-skinned women? I've seen dark-skinned women hold that against JT today in 2025, and rightfully so. So if JT still has to be accountable for that, then we can hold Cardi B accountable as well. And I feel like a lot of Black women give passes to Cardi that you would never give an unambiguous dark-skinned woman who behaved like her or said the things that she has said. And the same goes for Nicki. Because you like her music and her phenotype, because let's be real about that, you overlooked her saying that you nappy-headed hoes need a perminator. That's what she said in one of her songs. And I guarantee that many of you will still support her after this as well. And look, if you like the music, you want to listen to the music, listen to it. But publicly defending these women is where it gets cringy and embarrassing because they don't defend Black women like this and they never like Black women like that. And I saw where Nicki tried to kind of retract her statements about culture and apologize and clean up what she said. And then she tried to virtue signal to Black women by bringing up how Cardi called a Black woman's kids roaches. And she made it seem like she was protecting Black women. And I was like, girl, stop. If she really thought that Cardi was wrong for what she did, she wouldn't have said anything about culture's appearance. And so she needs to leave Black women out of her mess. And I feel like Cardi also does her own pandering to Black women as well. Because a couple of my subscribers brought to my attention that in her diss track to the rapper Bia, Cardi said something along the lines of, oh, I hate when bitches think they're pretty just because they light skinned. And even though it's 100% the truth, and I believe that Cardi believes that, she also knew to say something like that to stay in Black women's favor. It's similar to the pandering that a lot of colorist Black men do. And look, I'm not saying that people can't change. It is possible that Cardi having a brown skin or a dark skinned daughter makes her more aware of colorism now. And so she's more honest about it since it's affecting her children and especially her daughter. But on the other hand, once a colorist, you'll always be sus to me. I'm sorry. And I don't care who feels a way about me saying that, because think about it. If a white man was racist and then got with a Black woman and then had half Black children with that Black woman, would anything he said to rectify his racism be good enough for the Black community to believe he was no longer racist? No, I highly doubt it. He will always be considered a racist, and Black people will always be suspicious of him in that regard. And they should be. So I treat colorists the same way. Not saying that they can't change, but because of their history, the trust just isn't there. And again, dark-skinned women don't benefit from jumping up to defend former or present-day colorists, racists, etc., etc. We don't get anything out of doing that, ladies. Now, am I glad that Cardi B admitted that some light-skinned women think they're pretty just because they're light-skinned? Yeah, because that's something I and other dark-skinned women been saying for years. And we're always gaslit about it. We're told that it's all in our heads and that we're insecure by another woman's confidence. And unfortunately, weak-minded, insecure, dark-skinned women fall for that kind of gaslighting. But when it's other people saying what we said, whether it be a light-skinned woman, a mixed woman, or a Black man, suddenly it's gospel. But that just goes to show that when we say it, people actually do believe us. They know that we're right. They just dismiss us because we're dark-skinned, because we're dark-skinned women. And you know, this actually reminds me of Tamika, or the colorist pretty privileged lady that just went viral on TikTok, and how Black people unanimously came together and literally dragged that lady for thinking she's more attractive than she is. But did anyone notice how everybody suddenly started sounding like me and other dark-skinned women who discuss colorism? All of a sudden, you had all the hoteps who were dragging me for quote-unquote bashing light-skinned women. You had some of them saying the same shit that they attacked me for. Oh, light skin doesn't make you pretty, and Black men be gassing these light-skinned women up, and colorism is a problem in the Black community. But I thought you said it wasn't real. I thought you said that Black men aren't colorists. I thought you said that light-skinned women were perfect angels that didn't do nothing. It just made me laugh because some of the same pro-Black men and women who gaslit me for years sounded just like me when giving their commentary about that story. And I don't think they realized that in the process, they were actually exposing the fact that they've been lying and gaslighting us this entire time. And see, that's exactly why I don't pay the colorist gaslighting any mind. And you shouldn't either, ladies, because deep down, most Black people know that what we're saying is true. They just don't want us to say it. Until convenient, of course. But they actually do agree with us, which is why they get so triggered when we talk about colorism, because they know it's true. Deep down, they know it's true. But in the right circumstance, they will tell the truth about it and they will expose themselves. And that Tamika story just happened to be the right circumstance. Just like Cardi B's beef with Bia was the right circumstance for her to tell the truth about colorism. They always expose themselves eventually. And something else that this exposes is the fact that light-skinned and ambiguous women are competitive with each other, just like unambiguous dark-skinned women. And I bring that up because according to colorist Black YouTube, only dark-skinned women are competitive against light-skinned women and mixed-race women and other dark-skinned women. But as we can see, that isn't true. Nicki and Cardi prove that light-skinned women, mixed-race women are competitive as well. As we can see, they compete with each other. They also compete against dark-skinned women, as we saw with JT. And this is why I will never apologize for encouraging unambiguous dark-skinned women to compete and play the game when necessary like everyone else does, because everybody is competing with us. Humans are competitive, and that transcends race, color, and gender. Women being male identified also transcends race and color, as we see again with both Nicki and Cardi. So that's not only a dark skinned woman thing either. Everybody competes in this world. And speaking of competition, I listened to Magnet, the song where Cardi threw shots at JT, and I also listened to JT's diss record to Cardi, Barney B. And in terms of rapping ability, bars, punchlines, JT wins hands down over Cardi. And I don't love JT as a rapper, but she is way more talented than Cardi in my opinion. Now, the edge that Cardi has over her in Magnet is that the hook on Magnet is catchier. So instead of rushing through it, I think that JT should have taken some more time to write an actual bop that the girls can dance to. And I know with beef tracks and stuff, like rappers try to get the diss out as soon as possible to prove that they can write fast. But girl, this is Cardi B. I think most people agree that JT is the better rapper. I think people also know that JT writes more of her own music as well. So she could have taken a little bit more time in the studio to come up with something better, in my opinion. But yeah, when you compare talent, JT wins over Cardi hands down. And I feel like even some black women don't want to admit that because they're so far up Cardi's ass. But it is what it is. Cardi is just not a very good rapper. And I love music, so even if I don't personally like someone, I'll give props where they're due. I think I like one song from Cardi. I think it was her first song. I don't remember the name of it. And some of her music is catchy. I'll give her that. And I also listened to her new album. I gave it a fair chance. And honestly, it's just okay to me. It did not blow me away. I feel like some of the features are what carried this album. Lizzo's hook on her feature was good. Lourdes and Tyla had good hooks on their features. Summer Walker also helped Cardi out tremendously on this album. But Cardi would have never been able to carry this album on her own. And I believe her label knew that. So they got talent that's better than her to bring more value to the album. Even when you think of her ghostwriters like Party writing her raps and making her verses better, she needs all these extra people to come out with a halfway decent album. And to me, that is an example of her light-skinned, mixed-race privilege really working for her. And an example of the machine she has behind her really making her more successful than she would be otherwise. Because when you think about people like Doechii, for example, she doesn't need a lot of features and ghostwriters to carry her or make a good album or a good body of work. Coco Jones, Normani, they held their own on their albums. They just don't have the same machine behind them like Cardi does. Even Nicki, as problematic as she is, she can hold her own and has way more talent than Cardi. And she was right about Cardi having nursery rhyme sounding bars. It definitely does give Barney. So yeah, Cardi B's privilege is definitely carrying her as an artist right now. And something else I think is worth mentioning is Cardi throwing shots at Bia's mom for dating white men. And based on my research, Bia's mom isn't black, but something else I peeped about Cardi is that she has a huge problem with black women and women of color dating white men. And I talked about this a long time ago when she got into it with Candace Owens and was bringing up her white husband. Cardi is one of those mixed women who is jealous of black women and women of color who date and marry out, especially to white men. And personally, I think it's because women like Cardi are very monocultural. They're very black male identified. And they also seem to have an inferiority complex about giving their wombs to loser black men or black men in general, because black men are beneath white men on the racial and social hierarchy. And some of these women, like Cardi, resent women who they feel are beneath them, aka black women and unambiguous dark-skinned black women, getting with men who are higher on the racial and social hierarchy than the men that they chose. Now, they won't admit that, but I do believe that that's part of the reason for the animosity. Of course, outside of black culture, teaching black women and mixed women like Cardi who grew up around black people to only deal with black men romantically, that's a factor as well. But I definitely think it has a lot to do with them putting white men on a pedestal in their mind. And so it's like, oh, you think you better than me because you date a white man? You ain't better than me. It's that kind of thing. And I also think the black women who are obsessed with telling other black women not to swirl, they also have animosity for similar reasons if they are with black men. Seeing another black woman in a relationship with a man who has more racial and social privilege and social leverage than the man that she's with, that can cause jealousy or resentment. Not from all black women who are with black men, but some. And then many black men, of course, have animosity because they don't want black women to be with men who, as a group, have access to more resources and privileges than they do. And that's because we as Black women can benefit from being with non-Black men who are higher on the racial and social hierarchy, especially if we marry or date well. And that's why you see all of them trying to fearmonger and shame us out of dating and marrying out. This goes back to what I said about how everybody can take advantage of the privileges they have access to, whether it be light skin privilege or some of the privilege they get from dating or marrying out or being romantically promoted with a variety of races or assimilating into the white community. But as soon as unambiguous dark skinned women try to take advantage of the privileges that we, in many cases, have access to when we assimilate or date out or receive corrective promotion, etc., then it's a problem. And they try to stop us from doing the same things they do to level up in this society because they are sexually and socially competing with us. This is a competition, ladies. Don't let them tell you otherwise. And this is again why I will continue to unapologetically encourage unambiguous dark-skinned women not to follow this fake-ass rule book that nobody else is following. And I will continue to encourage you all to play the social strategy and social climbing game and compete when necessary like everyone else. And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. But yeah, that is all I wanted to say about this topic for now. Let me know what you think about this Nicki and Cardi beef down in the comments. Also be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.